Now I would like to invite the Director of the Teacher Education Program, Dr. Angela Johnson, to the podium to introduce our next speaker.
Good morning, everyone. The MAT program at St. Mary's creates an intimate bond among the students, faculty, and staff. And as we mark this culmination of the master's program, it is especially fitting to provide the students the chance to reflect on their work together. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce to you the speaker selected by this year's cohort to share her thoughts, reflections, and insight about this past year and the adventures that lie ahead. Caroline Sellers, like many of her colleagues in the graduating class, thank you for the feedback from my graduating students, knew for many years that she wanted to be a teacher. Also, like many of her colleagues, she is well-versed in systems of calendars and color coding for tracking assignments. She's a bit of a perfectionist, and she maintains a constant commitment to pursuing the good and challenging the bad in the world around her. Last year, she graduated Phi Beta Kappa from St. Mary's with her BA in English, along with minors in Spanish and Educational Studies. In the MAT this year, she pursued her certification in secondary English and recently returned from a teaching abroad experience in Costa Rica, which now has her wondering where exactly in the world she is going to teach. Caroline is both diligent and conscientious, always working hard to make every lesson better than the last, and just like the rest of the cohort, destined for great things as a classroom teacher. Following Caroline's comments, she will introduce our performers, Nat Pearson and Megan Ragland.
Good morning, everyone. I am indeed Caroline Sellers, proud member of the 2014 MAT cohort. I am incredibly grateful to have been chosen by my fellow cohort members to be this year's graduation speaker, so thank you everyone for this opportunity. Since I'm already feeling so thankful, I'm going to keep this gratitude going with some much-deserved thank yous to some very wonderful people. First, I would like to thank all of the amazing and supportive friends and family here today, as well as those who couldn't make it today. I am sure many of you can still hear the echoes of stressed late-night phone calls, ranting about lesson plans and literature reviews. Your open ears and honest advice, like put the phone down and just go to sleep, are some of the reasons we're all here today. I'd especially like to give a shout out to my family and friends, especially my nieces, Molly and Leah, who were shocked when I told them that I had never had my 11th graders finger paint in class. Next, I would like to thank all of our mentor teachers, supervisors, and school colleagues from this past year. Thank you for working with us, challenging us, and helping us grow, and for letting us see how rough days will happen, rogue lesson plans won't kill us, and every day is another opportunity to make something good happen in our classrooms. Your classrooms became our classrooms, and your schools our schools, and we appreciate all of your help along the way. I'd also like to thank all of our professors. Angela, thank you for your laughter, your empathy, and your fire. Some days might have been a kick in the butt, but you always kept us moving forward. April, thank you for helping create the tech geniuses that we are today, and for letting Hallam be our happy little distraction during class. David, thank you for your memes about t-tests and your hilarious stressed faces. Professor Koch, thank you for always keeping your office door open to answer our many many questions. Katie, thank you for making some of the most meta moments in methods that we've ever experienced. This whole speech was backwards designed with my objectives for the audience in mind. Leslie, thank you for always staying upbeat, even on some of our most downward spiraling days. Terry, thank you for challenging us all to be reading teachers, and for stretching the ways that we think about our students' knowledge in the classroom. I'd also like to thank Lynn Eulenberg. Although she was on sabbatical for most of this past year, her incredible piece of advice from our very first semester here has sort of stayed with me. If you wait until the last minute, it only takes a minute. So thank you, Lynn, for that. Finally, I'd like to thank all of my cohort members. Your support and encouragement got me through these last 11 months. Thank you for some days tolerating and other days embracing my weird pet names. Thank you for listening to my passionate rants before, during, and after class. Thank you for eating the random baked goods I'd sometimes bring because I didn't want to be tempted by the stress-baked muffins sitting in my apartment. I know it's cliche, but oddly, as an English teacher, I'm okay with this cliche. We've become a family these past 11 months. Sometimes families don't see eye to eye. Sometimes families get sassy with each other. But at the end of the day, we support each other and celebrate each other's successes and help those who have fallen get back to their feet. So let's think back to June 23rd of 2013, exactly 349 days ago, when we all walked into DPC with our assortment of food and utensils and made dinner together. We were a little nervous, a little apprehensive, but we were still pretty relaxed and confident. And then our first semester started. I can remember sitting on my apartment floor with Shelby and Tori, staring at our laptop screens, trying to make sense of our 2 weeks of online coursework. And so began our 11 months of late nights, quick rant sessions, and intense learning. Soon came Gear Up, and we all began hitting our stride. Even the elementary crew, despite working with students way older than anticipated. Over that week, we learned about memory pegs, Black Hat, watched YouTube videos of teachers rapping about trigonometry, and built relationships with the students, the teachers, and each other, all while transitioning from student to teacher through the middle ground of camp counselor. Then, we finished everything off by breaking some boards, some of us with our hands and some with our feet. I think for many of us, if we were to go back today and see what we'd written on those boards, we'd be all able to proudly say we've now punched through some obstacles, both literally and metaphorically. Then, after a few more weeks of heavily front-loaded coursework, which now we're all really grateful for, we found ourselves in our buoy placements, hanging posters, rearranging desks, and organizing bookshelves while waiting for our students to finally arrive. I foolishly never really thought about just how much effort goes into the very first few days of school. The introductions, the seating charts, the icebreaker activities, the diagnostic assessments, but I very quickly learned. Those 6 weeks were overwhelming, to say the least. We actually started to see how our lesson plans were playing out in a real classroom with real, live students, instead of our fellow cohort members pretending to be specifically aged students. And sometimes, we completely failed at those lesson plans in our buoy placements. Even with all of our studies from the summer, we were still novice teachers, fumbling our way through a single lesson plan. But with every day of practice, we became more flexible when plans didn't go our way, and more able to predict the different ways that a single lesson plan can go very awry. By the end of our buoys, many of us weren't ready to leave, and heading into our anchor classrooms for only a week was quite a switch. But after only a few days, we were back in familiar territory as students once more in our second round of coursework on campus. And oh, what a time that was. We seemed to be bombarded from all sides with assignment after assignment. Relevance, reading strategies, backwards design, assessment practice, quantitative and qualitative analysis, presentations, mock lesson plans, repeat. We were eating, breathing, and living reflective teaching. And as hard as that semester was, and as many tears may have been shed from lack of sleep, we came back to our anchor placements in December with ideas galore, ready to take on the classroom once more as soon as our MRP proposals were submitted and approved. Then came the winter, when hell probably could have frozen over with 12 snow days, which don't even include the many, many school mornings delayed for ice or extreme cold. During these snow days, we could really feel ourselves becoming more teachers than students, although we may have started out January with fairly frequent snow dances. We soon began groaning at the "no school" Facebook statuses. We didn't want to update our unit plans another time. We missed being in the classroom. It felt weird to get out of routine. But we did for 3 weeks in February to come back to campus and talk about t-tests and statistically significant. Yes! We checked in with professors and tried to catch our breath before jumping right back into our anchor placements. For many of us, this was a challenging time, cramming in pre-post assessments, MRP data collection, and preparing to go abroad, all while writing lesson plans, revising those lesson plans, and full-time teaching, whenever there wasn't another snow day. It was, needless to say, a wonderful opportunity to exercise our teacher flexibility. Finally, come April, half of us left for our different destinations, dealing with culture shock and new expectations, and half of us stayed here, building stronger, deeper relationships with students and really solidifying our teacher personas. After 6 more weeks of rolling with the punches, really, snow in April? We all reconvened right here on campus for our final projects and presentations, tying up loose ends and showing off everything we've learned, which takes us to today, right here, with our graduation caps on and surprise in our eyes that it's happening. It's been a whirlwind, and I'm so thankful to have had this unbelievably fast, unbelievably intense, and unbelievably wonderful experience with y'all. When I look out in front of me, I see many different teachers with many different philosophies who are all going to have very different classrooms. And for me, that's one of the most worthwhile parts of the MAT. We are not cookie-cutter teachers. The MAT doesn't create cookie-cutter teachers because there's no way to be a good cookie-cutter teacher. Instead, the MAT helped us figure out our strengths and work on our weaknesses, independently, but with support and encouragement from the sidelines. We are all our own independent teachers with our own special superpowers. However, although we're independent, the MAT has made certain that we all have at least some similar core values, #MakeItRelevant. We all understand the need to consider the overall purpose of our lessons of our units, and of our classrooms. We all know how important a first impression can be and intend to make the most of our first days with our future students. We all know that the first few years of teaching might be terrible, but we've come to understand that there are good and bad days in every classroom. And ultimately, we are all fiercely committed to our students, their successes as well as their needs, inside and out of the classroom. Despite what we may sometimes feel, we are ready to take on our own classrooms with our individual strengths and our MAT community to support us. And do you know why we're ready? Because if we made it through the MAT fine, internship, thesis and all, we can sure as hell tackle the first year of teaching. And I can't wait to hear about the not so good days, the good days, and the great days from y'all this coming fall.